And welcome, ladies and gents, to another episode of The Mixer. This is your boy, Black, also known as SSSS Black, also known as Nico Robin and Errors of Scarlet's purse holder. Today, we have a wonderful podcast coming up, and we also have a guest today joining the crew for the first time, so I look forward to talking with that. But before we get too deep into what this episode is, go ahead, my pod mate, my running buddy, my other half, Scuba Steve, introduce the people to yourself.
Hey, what's going on? It's me, Scuba Steve. I'm back for another episode, and we're finna have fun on this one. This is a good topic. I'm really looking forward to this shit right here.
It is. We got something stored and special for y'all. And to talk on this topic that we have not named just yet, we are inviting a special guest. Young man that I've talked to many times on the timeline, but for his first time on the Mixer. So, Mr. Leek, why don't you introduce yourself to the Mixer?
What up, people? It's One Piece Leek of the Worst Generation podcast. If you follow the Worst Generation podcast account, 9 times out of 10, you are communicating with me. So if this is your first time seeing the face, this is the person behind the Skull AVI on Twitter. Worst Generation podcast, first mate Leek. What's good?
Man, we have a lot of dealings with Worst Gen. We didn't had we didn't talk. We had a bunch of people from Worst Gen on, right, Steve?
We had Panda. So far to the Mixer, that's it. Just Panda.
No, we had
we had Rome. We had Rome
for the 6ix9ine episode. Oh man.
Oh yeah, for that hentai episode.
That episode was wild, but it was good. It was good though. I'll tell you that much. Bunch of people inboxed me and was just like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I pulled a bunch from y'all." I'm like, "All right, it's cool. We did our part then." So
yeah, they ain't gonna say it on the timeline, but they'll privately tell you.
yeah. That's what I said. Look, I was inboxed, so I left it at that. But Mr. Leek, welcome, the skull head of the Worst Gen Pod. Welcome to the Mixer, good sir.
Man, thank you for having me, bro. Steve hit me up. Was like, "Hey, you free on Monday or Wednesday?" You know I'm free on Mondays, bro. What's good? Like, you trying to pod? Like, yeah, bet it up. I'll be there.
Yeah. I gotta milk it, man. I'm getting with the Worst Gen. They was like, it's 9 of them. They was like, yeah, you can bring a couple of us on. I was like, nah, we got 9 episodes. We gonna get 9 episodes out of
so far we 3 of 9. So y'all, sooner or later, everybody gonna be on at one point. So I'm fine. And I love bringing guests on, man. I just love picking everybody's brains and finding out how they like anime, what got them into it, and all that good stuff. So, and we'll have that time for more in depth about Mr. Leek himself. But before we get started, as I normally always do, the Mixer is dedicated to my boy Stentinator. He's the one. He was one half of the creators of Mayonaka Mixer. Stent, we miss you. We love you. And like we do every week, we go hold down this anime thing because that's just what we do. All right. And with that, let's get into the episode. So this topic I'm not gonna lie, this topic's been on my mind a little bit recently, and with a couple of anime that's been coming out, I was like, let's break down this topic a little bit more. So today's episode is time in anime. And so with the most recent showing of Tokyo Revengers, which is an anime that everybody's catching on, either they're reading or they're watching, the play of time travel is starting to come in. So I felt that talking about time, because time can go many different places when it comes into anime. And we got time travel, we got time skips, we got like moments in time where time is literally paused. And it's just a bunch of stuff when it comes to time that I wanted to get into. But the most obvious thing of them all is obviously time skips and time travel. So I want to talk about time skips. So with time skips, I personally feel that time skips can be done correctly or incorrectly. And I feel that in order to have a good time skip, you got to have your character set up to do one or two things. Either they have to grow or either they have to fall back. So either that time skip is going to show your characters when they come out of the time skip that they are way behind the 8 ball and they need to train, or either they come out of the time skip more powerful and they're like, all right, we were behind the 8 ball before the time skip, but now we're ready to go because we had that. So thinking of time skips and thinking of those, what's an anime that basically you like, oh yeah, I remember that time skip no matter what happens? And Leek, I'm gonna lead this to you, sort of throwing you up the alley for the oop, because it's one obvious one that we all think of. So go on and drop that one on us.
I mean, One Piece Leek. We got to talk about One Piece time skips. We got
exactly.
We got to talk about One Piece time skips. I think the way it was executed was done very, very well. It was one of those instances where they needed to get stronger, and they came to the realization that, look, we are supposed to meet up in a couple of days, but nothing would change if we meet up in a couple of days. So You know what? Luffy went ahead and, drew on his arm, come back in a couple of years, and everybody got the message, and the time skip happened, and we pull up on Sabaody, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yep. And I think what made that one cool was that they were able to, and which was smart also, just referring to Oda himself, you were able to pull off on each castmate or each crewmate and be like, okay, this is what's happening with Robin. This is what's happening with Nami. This is what's happening with Chopper, which is smart because what that allows you to do is instead of getting into the main story, that gives you X amount of chapters where you can just be like, okay, I guess you call it a filler, quote unquote, but it's like it gives you enough time to be like, okay, I could talk about these characters and how they're growing and how they're changing before getting back into the meat of the story. And so, yeah, I knew One Piece was going to be one of the ones that I knew for sure that everybody remembers. That time skip literally changed everything for the Straw Hats. And not to mention the prior events that made them do the time skip. I mean, we went through a lot with those prior events because you got to think what started everybody and split everybody apart was the beginning of Sabaody.
Yeah.
And then we all know what happened in the beginning of the Sabaody ended for the first time. It was, man, especially if you was watching it live, people were freaking out. Oh man, people were absolutely crazy when one by one the Straw Hats were being dismantled in front of your eyes, and people were just going absolutely nuts. And then of course Luffy's journey and everything after that, what he went through at Impel Down, Marineford, we all know that. But just the fact that they set up that time skip, and then that first episode coming back after the time skip, I think literally woke everybody up to like, oh, this is what we getting. Oh, okay. And I think everybody was sort of excited because the one thing a time skip gives you, it gives you uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen after the time skip. And then with One Piece, it was 2 years. So you're like, oh, the characters are going to be different. They have to be different. And I remember for the first time seeing my waifu, Robin, come back, and I was just like, damn, she always had looked good, but damn, she looked better. Oh my goodness. And I was just like, I cannot believe this woman right here, just aging like fine wine. But that was the fun part. We got to see Chopper and how he changed, how his hat changed. You got to see Nami come back, and you just like, damn, Nami, okay, you a whole nother beast all of a sudden. And then of course you see Luffy all crazy stuff, doing just Luffy stuff, carrying a backpack that's like 20 times the size, and you're just like, yeah, of course Luffy does this, of course. It's literally one of the most memorable time skips for me, just because it's like, okay, that's how you do a time skip, that's how you jump, and that's how you progress characters. So Steve, how did you feel about the One Piece time skip? Do you remember where you were when you were watching the time skip? Was it live or?
No, it wasn't live for me. I was in Kuwait and I was sitting like in my little bunk and I was just watching it on my laptop. And I had watched, and when I was watching it, it was when basically we saw Frankie looking like a giant Megatron.
Right.
And then but the most exciting part about that time skip was when the Kuma robots pop back up and then the pacifistas pop up and they shoot a laser at Luffy and Luffy casually dodges it and then he one-shots it, and it's like, bro, it took them 2 or 3 episodes and it was the whole crew took down one. You know what I'm saying? And then Luffy casually one-shot, then Sanji and Zoro one-shot. I was like, oh, okay. I was all like, so they was doing something, because I was definitely getting frustrated with, I'm not gonna lie, like even though I guess they was training arcs, they was training and stuff, and like you said, it's filler, but I was definitely like, all right, man, I'm ready for these niggas to meet back up. So watching those episodes definitely was like, it felt like it paid off to watch that scene, because that scene was lit to me when they had like finally, you know what I'm saying, started doing shit. I thought that shit was lit. Even though it was casual one-shots and stuff like that, it just had me hype as hell. So
Yeah, how'd you feel about that leak? Because I know for me, just like you said, the one scene I remember when Luffy dodges the lasers, like bloop bloop bloop. You like, oh,
and he say too slow. I was
okay,
like, okay,
all right,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
so you bypassed all this, like you ain't even phased by these guys. I'm like, okay, but yeah, no, that was a hype moment for sure.
For me, it was the buildup.
Mm.
We first see Luffy, he walking by the imposter. Imposter tries to shoot him. He just casually hits him with Conqueror's Hockey. I'm like, oh. then we cut to Zoro. Like, oh yeah, it was a one-eyed pirate on the ship, and then you cut to a ship getting cut in half. I'm like, oh no. And then what did Zoro? So he said something like, nah, your ship was cursed or some shit like that. I'm like,
right.
No. I'm like, okay, all right. But not only that, the character aesthetics, like their different fits, like how their clothes change, how they carried themselves. Usopp came through with the 6-pack. I'm like, oh,
whoa, was slow.
Right. Last time we saw Usopp, he was bigger. He was like a balloon running around his island. So right,
Usopp got some swag, full of himself, confident, wiping his. I'm like, okay. And then we see him finally fight him. Like, all right, this is what we needed right here. This is exactly what we needed right here. So
and they slick because a time skip allows you to do one major thing without, and it's subtle, but it's super major. You get to change their clothes, which means what? You get to sell more figurines. Like companies understand that, like I said, time skip means money in a sense, and they understand that because literally everybody fit changed, everybody got older, you got hairstyles that changed. Now you got people that can cosplay different characters now because they've changed their outfits. It's a shrewd move by the company, but nonetheless, again, hey. Sell your product as best as possible. So I know One Piece was one that stood out to me. The other one that I know that stood out to me was Fairy Tail. And I know not everybody catches Fairy Tail, so I might be on an island by myself, but I did enjoy this time skip in Fairy Tail because the way that it's set up was that Fairy Tales was a 7-year skip. Mm-hmm. And so for me, like I always wonder like how long a time skip should be. Because you could have, like you said, a 2-year skip, and One Piece executed it perfectly. But then I also watched Fairy Tail and was like, 7 years? They actually did pretty good with a 7-year skip. So, like, what do you think is that sweet spot for a time skip, Leek? What do you think? It's like
that's tough. I think it really depends on the anime or the manga specifically, because whereas Fairy Tail was a 7-year skip, but when they came back, they didn't just come back stronger; they were weak.
Yeah,
they were weaker than everybody.
I will get to that too, which made it even crazier. They had to come
like, oh, like this is a dude I used to watch, and he like, okay, this whole 7 years, like, even though the guild ain't the same, motherfuckers ain't. It's not sweet out here.
Yeah,
so it's like you gotta come back. All right, we gotta get on our shit. And then you got a One Piece that was a 2-year time skip, and how long was a Naruto time skip? Because he was gone for a minute too.
Oh yeah, because he went to teens, huh? Naruto went from being a kid to a teen. So I think Naruto's might have been like, I think so.
Was it 3 years? It was only 3 years. I think it was 3 years. I think Jiraiya said he was going to return Naruto to Kakashi in 3 years, and he was going to get him strong enough because I guess they needed 2 years before Kakashi could move or something like that. So I think it just depends. But the thing that I didn't like about Naruto's was like, even though they came back stronger, a lot of it was off screen. So we kind of saw how much stronger they got. But the issue with Naruto was those background characters still got shelved. So like they might have showed a little bit of them being stronger, but it was like, we'll just let you know that we're stronger and then no purpose for them at all anymore. You know?
Right.
Whereas in One Piece, every single character, not even just a crewmate, like every single character came back and they showed how much stronger they were. Like from Smoker to it's a new Fleet Admiral. Oh shit! Like the whole story and world building in One Piece. The whole story got a 2-year time skip, and not just our main cast.
Buggy was a warlord when they came.
Buggy was a warlord.
Like not just the main cast, like literally everybody else. And I felt like it almost seems like, was it the main cast that was so far behind? Is that why they got the time skip? Because in reality, it was like, well, we knew the admirals are strong, and we knew like Smoker and them was strong, but it almost felt like, like the One Piece, the Straw Hats basically went the starting line. It was like, okay, now we know we can go into the new world and handle everything that was ahead of us. But prior to that, it was no way we had a shot because now they're like, all right, we're good. we leveled up. Now we can go into it. And just like we were saying, like the pacifistas, they literally, the guys didn't even blink after them. You know, when they was training for their 2 years, they like, bro, I want that robot's head.
That was the
like,
first one.
I want smoke with them.
Like at the very least, I got to be able to one shot this thing. At the very least,
there was a level. And so for the fairy tale one, the 7-year gap, just like you said, Leek, they came back and the entire world evolved ahead of them, which was crazy because with them, they are already, what made it even crazier, they had just basically survived an onslaught from the strongest creature in fairy tale. So they were like, we barely survived this. Like it took literally
fairy spirit,
founder, right? It took the fairy spirit from our founder, who's like our creator of Fairy Tale Guild, to basically encaps us, and we didn't even know what was happening. To them, it only felt like 10 seconds. To the rest of the world, it was 7 years, and then they came back and they was like, "Wait, we're like weak, like we're not like strong, like." You know, you think the main character would go out there and still be able to handle his own. No, Natsu was getting washed by like an enemy we didn't see ever again. And you like, wait a minute, ain't all this bad. Like everybody was trash. So you're like, okay. And it's interesting because it's like, what do you feel like is the best way to power up? Do you do the power up and then they come back stronger, such as One Piece? Or do you show the training montage after the time skip? I think the parodies play off of each other because I think it depends on the writing, one, but two, I think it depends on just the overall situation they're put into. Like One Piece is just looked at, like I said, it went seamlessly. It almost didn't feel like they went through a time skip unless we were told they went through a time skip. Whereas Fairy Tail, you saw the exact same characters, same clothing, same everything, except the entire world around them was different. And they just came back, was like, oh yeah, let's just keep doing what we were doing. And everybody else is like, nah, because we ain't what we were at one point. So like, I think the power-ups obviously is the one major reason that you do a time skip, but there has to be some type of drastic change to make it an official time skip. Like it can't just be, oh, we did this and then we jumped 2 years ahead and everything's the same. You know what I mean? There has to be some type of build-up to know for sure that there is a time skip that took place. So,
so a time skip that I really fucked with, and it was really just more so surprising because it was Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan's time skip, we just go straight to Gabby. So we're seeing that type of world, and then all the stuff is going on, and then when we finally see Eren in the basement, you know what I'm saying, and we finally realize that it's him, it's like, yo, okay, and his legs start growing, and it's like, and he had Reiner shook, like Reiner was like, nah.
Reiner knew immediately, like, oh shit.
Reiner had PTSD for real, dog. He was sitting there like a straight drunkard after the war.
Right, that shit was hype as fuck because it was like, he was there the whole time or whatever, and you kind of just didn't know it unless you were somebody that read the manga. But like we sitting there following this like one leg dude, you know what I'm saying, war veteran who we thinking, and it turns out it's Eren. And then when I rewatched Attack on Titan the season, because after I watched it in sub, I turned around and watched it in dub again. Eren's standing on a roof in one of the scenes, and he's like just watching shit. And it's like you don't even notice it because it's like it's just done so casually. Like he been staking this place out for a while, even before he reveals himself as a his leg missing and stuff like that as a injured war veteran. He was like staking out the place. This nigga was on the roof in one scene, and then there's another scene he's sitting in the crowd, and it's like this nigga's been here the entire time. And that shit just was dope to me. I was just like, bro, I like the fact that, you know what I'm saying, when they started revealing these characters, like, you know what I'm saying, Eren is all super long and he got like no emotion, and then Armin shows up, and then Armin, you know what I'm saying, blows up that whole little area, and it's just like everything about these niggas is just different, but it was done so well because they led you right into a battle, so it was like hype as fuck. So that's one of the more memorable time skips that I like. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how y'all feel about it.
That was a pretty crazy time skip because I know when I first started watching the first episode of Attack on Titan final season, I went back and was like, this ain't got nothing to do with what I'm watching now. Like, I think Crunchyroll fucked up. Like, they premiere, like, they put the wrong anime on this shit. Because who are these people? And I was tripped out, dog. I remember I was online, like, Googling shit. I'm like, wait, is this the real episode? Like, I feel like I'm being, like, bamboozled. Like, somebody really playing with my soul right now, because last time I remember, these motherfuckers just touched the water. Now I'm seeing a whole nother train system with some little girl. Oh, man. Yeah, Attack on Titan fucked me up when that final season started, because I was like, bro, what happened? And then literally I had to go online and people were like, hey, it was a time skip. I'm like, that makes sense, because this had nothing to do with the water that we saw on the final episode. So
I realized it once I saw Reiner with the goatee, but for a while when I was watching it, I was like, what the fuck is this shit? I was like, what's going on? And then I had to even ask, I asked one of my homeboys who's reading, because now I've read it now. But at the time, I had to ask him. I was like, "Is that how it is in the manga? Do they just like randomly just start with another chapter and it's Gabby and shit, or do they do more like in between in there in the manga?" And they was like, "No, it's just like that in the manga. And it's literally like Aaron gets to the sea, and then the next episode or next chapter is the fucking Gabby scene."
That had to fuck up people. Like, if you're reading some shit and then all of a sudden they jump into a whole nother book, you like, I'm being trolled, ain't I? Like, somebody's trolling me. Like, I couldn't imagine doing that, like reading it real time, and then it's just a whole nother chapter with a whole nother character. Like, what do I do? Like, that was pretty crazy. But yeah, no. Did you have any other time skips, Leek, that you can remember that like stood out to you?
I don't want to spoil nothing, but there's a time skip that's going to happen in Dr. Stone in the manga.
Oh, okay. That's what we call a teaser. Good job. Okay. Now I'm not sitting there like, man, I'm looking at my Dr. Stone scroll like, all right, something about to pop off then. So now I'm curious. Okay.
There's sometimes skips that happen early on in shows that happen real quickly, and I think they do them well too. Like even in Demon Slayer, when he was training and he was trying to cut that rock. And then once he finally sliced through it, his hair long. And, you know what I'm saying? All that
he's like a year and some change has passed after
that. A year and some change. I was like, that's a quick, subtle time skip. You know what I'm saying? But it was
like, kind of showed him training as it happened. And then you just jump to he's finally done.
Yeah, because at first I was all like, oh, he cut the rock in a couple of hours, and then once I saw the hair, and I was like, oh, nigga been cutting at this rock for a while.
Right. He been out there grinding, like for real. He was like, no shower, no nothing, just keep slicing. Like, damn, okay. And actually, there are the animes that do time skips pretty good. Believe it or not, are isekai. And the reason that an isekai might have a time skip is because depending on where it starts from. You might have an isekai that literally starts them off as a child, and all of a sudden you jump to 5 years old. And I'm thinking of Musho Tensei, when literally you're starting off as he's starting off as the young boy, and literally they're showing him from when he opens his eyes as a baby. And you're like, wait, we're having to watch this guy come from an entire infant on through. And obviously, you're not gonna get the best content talking about a baby infant. So it skips him ahead literally till he's like 5 years old. And so time skips can be used at important parts. But what a time skip also allows you to do, it allows you to have backstory. So when you do a time skip, a mangaka could always go back and be like, okay, we can use this as filler, quote unquote, but we can show what happened during these time frames. Like a training arc could always be like, for example, Oda still got us wondering how the hell Zoro cut his eye. We still thinking about that. We still don't know. We still, like, literally, you start thinking about things like we don't know what happened that Zoro jacked up his eye.
And then what makes it worse is like nobody cares that it happened. Like nobody asked. Like no crew member is like, you got one. There was one time Sanji was like, one-eyed swordsman. Never asked. As soon as he seen Zoro, never asked. Nobody cared to ask what happened. Like I'm still waiting for the. So you ever gonna tell us what happened in your eye?
Right, man.
Because what makes that worse is now you got all these theories about what happened. Is there some sort of eye technique? Is something sealed? Like now we speculate,
and that's what people say. Wait till he opened his eye. I'm like, what the fuck you mean? Wait till he opened his eye. I see all sorts of shit like that.
And if the day happens that he opened his eye and something happens, the timeline will fucking erupt. It will be mass hysteria. For One Piece fans, we will go absolutely crazy. And it's not, mind you, it's not even that. Like, we sort of understood what Luffy went through. Luffy ended up, throughout his, we got to see more of his time skip because, he went to the Amazon Lily. I can't wait till Sanji finds out that Luffy was literally in women heaven, and he has nothing to do with that. Like when Sanji finds out that literally Luffy knows a island full of women, Sanji's gonna lose his shit, and it's gonna be the funniest part of One Piece that we're gonna catch. Like I know it's gonna be hilarious. But not only that, Robin was with the Revolutionary Army, so Robin knows Luffy's father.
Mm-hmm.
You know she got to know some shit about Luffy that she ain't revealed yet because that's just how Robin is. And it's like Oda, literally that time skip left so much for us to not know that Oda is just keeping secret. And that, again, that's how you make a great time skip because there's so much we want to know, but Oda's just going to just give us crumbs until he feels like dropping a huge hammer out of us out of nowhere. And it's like, all right, Oda. Of course, I think all of us are Oda fans. I don't think any of us ever got a question because I call him Goda because that's basically what he is. My man's making literally the most memorable work of art that I could truly remember that I'll always remember my whole life. And it's just like watching this man work is crazy. And like I said, we have so many questions yet. We're in a hole right now. If you're reading the manga, we're in a whole battle right now, but yet we still always wonder about these what if questions because so much is unknown. So yeah, man, time skips can get lit. So many questions can be answered literally with just 2 minutes of a conversation. It's like, all right, so yeah, time skips when done correctly really make an anime thrive. So
big facts.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I was about to say, how do y'all feel about like time skips at the end of anime where it's just to give you a quick flash forward on people's lives,
like after the story's over with?
Yeah, pretty like Gurren Lagann, how they flash forward and you see adult Simone, stuff like that. How y'all feel about those situations? Y'all feel like they pointless or do y'all enjoy those?
I think they're good because sometimes whenever the conflict is over with, you genuinely want to know the fallout. Like even if it has nothing to do with the character, it's like, okay, well, what happens to this world? Like what's going on now that the bad has been defeated? Like what's the ramifications of what happened last? And so I think it's important to see like what happens. The only time I don't like that is when I feel like they skip too much time.
Oh, there's one anime in particular that I'm about to say. I think y'all all know what it was. No, Promise Neverland.
Promise. Oh my god,
bro! You want to talk about a time skip? This is how we explain a time skip can be done horrifically wrong. Like they literally time skip so much that they time skip prior arcs and they time skip literally half their book. Horrifically done wrong. Like that.
I don't even know if I call that a time skip. That's just we just not going to include it.
Right. I agree. It was done so horribly that people just like, bro, how do you botch something this bad? It's like telling somebody to boil water and you set your house on fire. Like, how did you fuck this up? It was one process, but
I had the recipe. So,
bro, boiling water literally takes one step, and yet you somehow caught your house on fire. Like,
just follow the story. Just keep reading.
Yes,
animate. That's all you got to do.
All you have to do.
That's all you have to do. I think Gurren Lagann I think they did a pretty good job because the story was done. Like they had literally defeated the main guy. Everything had basically come into peace, and basically they showed us what we wanted at the very end of Gurren Lagann, which is basically showing everybody as adults, which is understandable. I guess we could go there and spoiler alert. So if this is the point where we are giving you a spoiler on a major show, so let's go ahead and give you warning. If you don't want to hear about it, go ahead and fast forward a little bit in the podcast. But let's talk about the one for sure that didn't give us a time skip that we rightfully deserve. And if everybody's read it, you should know what I'm talking about. That's Demon Slayer. Because Demon Slayer, did we all read it? Let me just ask that. Yes.
I haven't read it, but we can go.
Okay, yeah. I'll be cautious. But if we all know how Demon Slayer ended, after the big battle and all that stuff, we literally skipped so far into a time skip that we skipped generations. Not like, like you want to talk about another time skip went horrifically wrong. We skipped like 100 to 200 years into the future, and we're like, wait a minute, that's a little bit too far. Like I would understand if we skipped 2-3 years, but we skipped 200. Problem, because we were left so cold. Again, we just invested X amount of 150 plus chapters into the crew of Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke. Thank you. Along with my little chibi, my little daughter running around Nezuko. We wanted to know what was going to happen to them. Like literally, we was left with Nezuko being fine, Tanjiro's fucked up, but nonetheless she survived. What the hell happened to this crew? And we didn't get that when the last chapter came. And I remember the timeline going absolutely ballistic because we're like, what just happened to the crew we invested so much time into? We want to know what happens to them. And it literally would have took a simple 2-year skip showing how everybody's thriving, how life is going on, or maybe a 5-year skip showing them as, teenagers closer to adults where they could get married and stuff like that. Give us that. Unfortunately, we weren't given that. The timeline erupts and go absolutely crazy, which is understandable. And then the Arthur sort of backtracks a little bit and gives us a 0.5 chapter that gives us a little bit of that. And we're still just nah, you should have just gave us the normal 5-year skip. And then maybe your 0.5 should have been in the 200 years in the future. But yeah, she sort of dropped the ball on that, which sucks because it's the story up to that point, in minus maybe a little bit of the final chapters, was pretty damn good. And so to not show us what happens afterwards, which we all were curious about, is a failed time skip in the sense. So
I wonder if a lot of that is because I think that final fight was done so bad. So in my opinion, Demon Slayer was good and literally until the very last arc where it started declining rapidly because I felt like they were speeding things up way too fast.
Yeah.
And it almost gave me that feeling like Bleach, like it was getting rushed. But for whatever reason, I don't think she was rushed because she was having huge success.
Yes.
So it just didn't make sense to me because that last arc, it seemed like there was a speeding up. And it got to the end of the final fight. And it's like, okay, so why didn't he the whole time he's fighting, he's trying to use these techniques. You don't use them. And then it has this ending that I predicted the end. I'm like, I guarantee that he's going to try to absorb him or whatever.
Right.
And then he doesn't do it. He managed to survive. And it's just like, all right, you see all these people that's, all right, that person's about to die, that person's about to die, that person's about to die, that person's about to die. It ends, and you just jump 200 years in the future.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I remember reading it, and mind you, I think I read it after the final chapter dropped. I was like, oh, it's over? Cool. I could binge it. No questions. You know what I mean? I could just shoot straight through and I don't have to wait. And I'm reading it. I'm like, oh, it's getting lit. I remember reading through the Red Light District Guard and was like, hey, this is fire. Like, they going at it in this chapter. I was like, oh, man, this arc is lit. Now, I remember after that, then you had the Swordsman's Hideout arc or whatever you want to call that. And then you go into the Hashira training, and then you go into the final battle, and you just feel like things are accelerating pretty fast. And so you're like, I don't feel like there was no time. Like, did they truly train enough to get to this point? Literally things did start to accelerate real fast. It's like, and you're like, okay. And then, like I said, just the way that it just went from 200 years in the future, it's like, yeah, we were done wrong. But yeah, man, those are perfect examples of how a time skip goes horrifically wrong when you shouldn't have to do it. But time skips in general. Yeah, again, you could have some people doing masterfully, you could have some people that drop the ball, but if done correctly, they are wonderful. I do put them that much, and they give you a lot of chances for backstory and content. So,
I didn't like Tokyo Ghoul Re the way that they did their time skip because it's in the future, but he's got amnesia.
Yeah,
so it was just I was like, I don't like this because now it's like you want to know what's happening with everybody, and he doesn't remember. So you're just picking up a story from there. And a lot of people say, oh yeah, you just got to wait to the end because they tie stuff together. But I wasn't invested anymore. After watching 4 or 5 episodes and he still don't remember this stuff, he's walking past characters that we've already seen in Tokyo Ghoul. He's walking past them and he's like, I think I remember them, but I don't know. And he just walks past them. So then they never show that character in another episode. So it's like, yo, I wanted to know what was going on with this character. And I thought that was done poorly. So I only got to the 7th episode on Tokyo Ghoul Re. I didn't even finish all 13 or whatever because I just thought it was done so poorly.
And you're not you're not the first one that said that Tokyo Ghoul, like, they wish that it gets we call it the Brotherhood treatment, where it literally goes back and starts to take from its source material a whole lot better than the first anime did. And yeah, I've heard that too. And I'm like, dang. And I was like, when I was watching it too, I was just like, things do feel a little bit different. But yeah.
So I hated that third season. I was like, bro, this is like, I already wasn't too impressed with the second season. And then that third season came around, they was doing shit like that. And I was like, bro, like, how you gonna like you gonna show us the character and then you never see the character again? I was like, bro.
Right.
So, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying, man, I gotta wait and get my full opinion by watching those last 6 episodes. But I was done with it after like 7 episodes. So
yeah, no, it was, again, I've heard bad things about it. And I watched it through and I was just like, it surely didn't give off that vibe of the first season of Tokyo Ghoul. First season Tokyo Ghoul might be literally some of the most top tier shit that I've ever watched. Because that, you want to talk about getting hooked into an anime? I remember like, wait, this shit's over? I gotta wait how long before the next season? Yeah, I was super geeked about Tokyo Ghoul, and it never lived up to its hype from there on in. But
yeah.
All right. Any other time skips we want to talk about, fellas?
Not necessarily time skips, but I want to know, do y'all think that, I guess you can call it in-canon training arcs, I guess you could say, do y'all think that counts as a time skip? Example, on Greed Island, when when Gon and Killua were training with Bisky, like they were training, and, gives you like a little montage of them training, like several months have passed.
And I mean,
so that kind of makes me think, because I thought you were gonna go like hyperbolic time chamber with Goku and Gohan going in there for 1 day or 2 days, and it came out that was 2 years. Or so that's like training, but it's not. I guess it's not a time skip, but it feels like one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and training arcs was like technically several months have passed with Hunter x Hunter, so it's like technically it is sort of a time skip in a sense because it's a couple of months that pass. But it's I think with training arcs, I think a time skip done with a training arc is basically just a reason to speed along the character to make him more powerful. So I think that a training arc personally isn't done correctly enough to really call it a time skip. I feel that it's just it's an easier way to get their characters up in power. And so it's like, okay, it's a quicker way. It's not fleshed out like a better time skip would be, but it does count technically because it skips, a time skip is literally just time skipped ahead. So it does count because, like you said, it was 3 months. So like 3 months later, they were ready to go into Greed Island and do what they got to do in the game so that they can survive. So it counts, but it's probably the more poorly executed ones. So yeah, it's instant power up, and it's like, I guess it counts, but it's not the best way. But
yeah, like because that's kind of how it is with the Dragon Ball Z hyperbolic one. Because Gohan literally goes from this nigga could be strong, and then now he's stronger than Goku. And like, you know what I'm saying? And in a sense, in 2 days, you know what I'm saying? In real time, in their time, they're like, in 2 days, this nigga Gohan went from, you know what I'm saying, who he was to stronger than Goku. So that shit was unbelievable. But at the same time, it was like, it made sense with the hyperbolic time chamber and shit like that. So,
for sure, one of the things that I wished we had in real life, because the hyperbolic time chamber, you know how much training a nigga can get done. You know how much I can work out and then come back into my world. Oh yeah, you only been gone for 2 days, dog. Well, shit, I was in that motherfucker for 2 years, and now I'm coming back looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger on a good day. Like one of the more cooler moments for sure. But yeah, it was. It's like I get it, but yeah, again, that was just an easier way for Toriyama to basically just up his characters and power. So quick, easy fix. But all right, so we talked about time skips, and I think the other thing when you think about time overall is time travel. So now time travel could get sticky as all hell because some people feel one way about time travel. Some people feel like as soon as time travel happens, it's not even the same timeline. It's a different time, I guess a different time point. And so time travel has always been interesting, especially in anime, because anime has done some of the best time travel that you will ever see. And it's
when it's done right. When it's done right.
There are a few that is done right, a few that were botched. But I know when I think of time travel, I think of one anime and one anime only. That was done perfectly. Well, two. One I consider perfectly, one I consider almost perfect. But my first one is Steins Gate. And Steins Gate for me was just, you want to talk about literally using time travel to get to a certain point and then using it to fix everything you thought you did was correctly. I mean, literally Steins Gate for me, it literally, they use time travel to try to fix so much. And your boy Rentaro, he went through so much trying to save Mayuri, and you're just like, dog, like it's mental fortitude to be able to literally watch his best friend die a multitude of ways over and over and over. And just to be able to mentally stay strong to be like, I'm gonna get this right at one point. Like, I think personally he was insane. I just think he had his goal just set so well, and he's like, I got one thing I got to do. I got one job at this point. He could have think of anything else. But the fact that he realized that in order to save one person, another has to die. And then he was like, I got to literally use time travel to go back to redo everything that I thought was correct. I was like, okay, hold on. Y'all got me way too invested. So you telling me you about to use time travel to fix the shit that you went to time travel for? I look, I remember sitting there at the TV like, I'm binging the rest of this whole series through, dog. I'm too invested. And that's time travel done absolutely perfect, because by End's game, literally the thing he wanted to stop, he could not stop no matter what. But he yet, through like 2 ways of using time travel, he does fix it in some way. And it was like, all right, y'all did that perfectly. So for sure, that's my ultimate when I think of time travel. I know Steve and I know Leek. I know y'all got to have some time travel moments in y'all head. So go ahead, Leek. Give us one.
Most recently, how can you not talk about Tokyo Revengers?
Of course.
How can you not talk about Tokyo Revengers? Like,
man,
Takamichi going through it, bro. Takamichi be going through it. Like, it all starts with you trying to save one person.
Yes.
And then the butterfly effect of I saved this person, but because I did this, now this person is doing this. And it's like the ripple effects. And then now, I've saved this, but how did this go so wrong? And it's like, damn, I gotta go back again. But the fact that you're not going back to the same point is what I think makes it really good, because a lot of times they go back to the same exact point in time and try to do a different decision and alter it that way. Whereas he's going back, but now he's a few days forward or a week forward, or if he stays back in time, a week past back in time, he comes back a week to 12 years. So it's like you keep bouncing back and forth as time is still moving forward.
Still moving, right? Exactly.
So it's man, Tokyo Revengers is doing something, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I definitely love Tokyo Revengers.
And
the fact that's the key thing to me, is that time is still moving, even though he's back in time. Because when they hit us with his body was, you know what I'm saying, malnourishing. He was like losing nutrition and shit like that because he just laying there. And then like his job was like, you've been gone a week. Like I thought that shit was crazy, because it let you know like I can't spend too much time here because I'm fucking up my shit in the real world, you know what I'm saying? So I thought that was like a real key twist and play that they put into that they don't put in other time shows, other series and stuff like that.
Which one do you guys think? Because I know you said another one, and I agree with you on that choice, but
so Erased is like
that's on my list too.
That shit is perfect. Like, and it's like he did all this to save his mom. You know what I'm saying? And it shows that, I think it showed that relationship between him and his mom, like from beginning to end. Like in the beginning, like nigga, his mom dies and he's like, no, I gotta fix this. And he, you know what I'm saying, he wills his way and goes back in time to save his mom. Like that's his main goal. And then at the end, when it comes full circle, this nigga been in a coma for like 11 years, and she
stretched him every single day.
That's a real ass mom, though. Let's keep it 100. Like,
bro,
that's a real ass parent, dog.
It's like he went through hell to make sure she lived, and she did the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just showed that bond between them. I thought that was dope. That full circle connection of that shit.
Yeah, no, Erase for sure is. I think I have Steins Gate and Erase as my top 2. And Tokyo Revengers will probably end in my top 5 by the way it looks just overall when the stories by either by the time the story finish or by the time the anime finish or by the time the manga finish. Because just like y'all, we were both saying, and Leek, you mentioned it too, the fact that time is still moving while you're jumping back into time, that's a crazy ass twist because that's not like normal. Normally, when you think of time travel, you think of somebody going from point A stopping, and then you're going backwards. So you can do whatever you want to do coming
back to the same.
And then you come back to the same point, right? And you're like, okay, it doesn't affect me that much. It's almost like literally you blink your eyes, and then when you reopen your eyes, you're still in the same point, doing like in the same spot. But no, Tokyo Revengers has it that you're going on. Everything's still continuing day by day, which puts more stress on the Takemichi because he knows that he can't stay in the past too long. But he got to get it right the first time. So that type of pressure is now mounting on Takemichi's head because realizing that, okay, I missed the point where I did save Draken, yet Hina still died. Now I got to go back. You know what? Instead of just doing, and just like he said in the most recent episode, he was like, we're thinking too small. Nah, I'm going to just go and do the biggest thing I can do. I'm going to just take over Toman and just become that dude. And it's like he understands that every time he goes back, and even the brother says that it might be a while for you come back this time. Like this might be one of those expeditions you be over there for a minute. And so just knowing that literally the brother knows that while Takemichi's gone, he got to take care of his body, but life is still going to continue. It's crazy. It's crazy because life is still going on and the little brother's still going on with life. His sister's dead. He's just coming out of a funeral. So now he has to process all that by himself. Tokyo Revengers has a chance of being something great, and I have a good feeling it probably is going to be great. But it's a bunch of good time travel shows, and I know I've watched more than just those. Like I've always been interested in like how time travel goes. Like one that did time travel really subtle that made me be like, oh, okay, was Charlotte, and I don't know if y'all seen Charlotte. So Charlotte, real quick, I'll give you a quick synopsis of it. So in Charlotte, a certain comic comes by every 80 years. And so it just happens to be that the anime is taking place during this 80-year event that's going on. The comet trickles down like this sort of majestical like flash or something like that. And what happens is kids that were born around that same time when they turn to age 16 matures to, I think it's either maybe age 12 or something like that, matures and gains superpowers in a sense, some type of super ability. So the main character, he gains a super ability to be able to see 5 seconds into the future or go back 5 seconds into the future. And so he literally uses that for his own benefit, basically just to be able to, like cheat on a test or something like that. He's just like, I just want to live a life of luxury. I don't care anymore. Gets caught by a young lady who's able to go invisible and basically gets dragged to a school. Fast forward all the way to the very end, we find out that his ability is actually a parasite ability, which allows him to absorb the ability of somebody else. It's not like a typical ability. And what he finds out is that his older brother has the ability to time travel.
That's what I was going to say. Then whose ability? Okay.
So literally after he realizes his actual ability, he takes his brother's one and he goes back into time. And his whole objective is, because there's basically a special group out for these people, basically torturing these kids that have these special abilities. His idea is to go all the way back in time and literally erase, with his parasite ability, erase everyone that had special abilities, because that then protects them from the secret organization that's dissecting them and killing them off. And you're like, wait a minute, you want to talk about time travel? So he literally goes back to when he's a kid and starts literally erasing all these people's basically abilities so they can live a perfect life.
It's on Hulu. I'm gonna watch that.
And I'm like, okay. And that was a different way of using time travel, because he goes back to do something because he knows that in the future, everything was shit. Everybody was getting killed, including his little sister. So you're like, I'm curious to how this plans out. So just watching it overall, I was like, okay, that's another memorable way of doing time travel. And again, it wasn't a time travel anime. You just got the time travel in the final 3 episodes. So I'm like, okay, till then they build up a hell of a story with the characters and their abilities, and then they do the time travel on us at the last second, and it still fits seamlessly. And I was like, okay, that's another good anime that got time travel that I can remember about too.
So not to toot this anime's horn, but we already talked about it as time skip. But they did a good time travel shit too in One Piece with the 20-year thing with
Toki's ability
with everybody from from the Wano part. Damn, from the Scabbards.
Yeah,
I thought that was all done well, and even
the devil fruit power at that. It's a devil fruit power.
Yeah, I thought that shit was done really well. They 20 years into the future, but they didn't age. And then on top of that, I guess we can't say that because I don't know if it happened in the anime yet because I haven't been keeping up in the anime. But Denjiro, I don't know if they've already revealed.
I think they have.
Yeah,
I was trying to catch up today on the anime, and I was at the part where the traitor revealed himself.
Yes, they have revealed it.
And the pirates popped up. So it literally is, and that's not even the latest episode. So I'm fairly certain he's popped up and shown that who he was.
Yeah, they talked about who the traitor is. Yep.
Just even that reveal in itself, because as you were watching that character, you actually didn't like that character because he was the right-hand man of Orochi, and he sliced down that girl and all this other stuff. So you like, I don't really fuck with this character. And then you find out he was Denjiro, and it's like, Oda does that a lot. He'll have characters that you don't fuck with at all at the beginning of the arc. And then like as time goes on, it's like surprise. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like kind of like with Frankie, when the Frankie house and them, they jumped Usopp. I had no idea. I had no idea that Frankie was gonna be a crewmate.
Right.
So like I had watched it late and I still didn't know. So when they jumped Usopp, I was like, fuck this nigga Frankie. And then all of a sudden he started liking this nigga. He started beating up on CP9 and shit. And it's just like that's something that Oda does well. So it's really dope how he did it with this time travel shit.
He's mastered time travel at this point because his time skips and time travel ability just to be able to go back X amount of years. I think that's absolutely nuts. And again, he's done it once. He's done a time skip. He mastered that. He's done time travel where they went back 20 years.
The flashback.
Added his characters into it. Like the whole flashback of Wano before Wano was like, okay, this is wild. As I said, man, I'm telling you, Oda's doing some shit that we're going to be able to tell our kids and our kids' kids. Like if we ever Big Goat, for real, he does it. Another series that I've been on the timeline talking about that I must mention, and I have to mention it. If I don't, I'll be a fool. But another one that did time travel well was Vivi. And y'all know me, if y'all see me on Twitter, I've been pushing the Vivi agenda so crazy, it's absolutely sickening to some people. But the fact that this anime was able to pull us 100 years into the future and then pull us back 20 and then shoot us up 30 and then dip us back at one point back to 100 years prior, the bouncing that shit Vivi did and did it so that you weren't confused, I was like, look, I don't know who the fuck told them the blueprint to Vivi, but the fact that they were able to use 100 years of a time frame in an anime and not have their viewers confused was absolutely amazing. And yeah, it was crazy. And they could only do that with a fucking android. It made so much sense because the android doesn't age. So the fact that you got the same character 50 years ago, 20 years ago, 90 years in the future, it didn't matter. So it was like somebody really thought about that story and was like, we might have something here. Like somebody was really smart enough to do that. And yeah, man, just watching Vivi go through what she went through was absolutely insane too. So of course I got to mention Vivi. You know, again, Vivi agenda was pushed heavy all fucking spring. So of course I'm still pushing that a little bit. But Leek, you mentioned it. I wanted to talk about it anyway. Butterfly effect. You said it. And so I know a lot of people overall might not know what the butterfly effect is, but if you've seen the movie, it's pretty simple concept. Basically, you do one thing, and that's the outcome that you get. So you're going in a straight line. And then people always be like, man, I wish I would have done something differently. And the thing is, if you go back in time and change the outcome so that instead of you going right, you go left, you never know what that branch is going to do. You never know what's going to happen and what can basically take place to everybody around you. And that's basically what the butterfly effect is. And a lot of animes had that moment. For sure, Steins Gate was one of them. And Tokyo Revengers is doing that as well because, again, Takemichi went back. Oh, all I got to do is save Draken? Okay, I saved him. But then look at everything else that happened in the future and look at the different way that Hina died. She still dies in a car accident, but she dies by Akun, which is his best friend, and you like, there's no way this is possible. So butterfly effect, I think, is one of the more interesting things about time travel that I've always thought was interesting. I always bring that shit up, especially thinking about our past in general, referring to like human beings. Like everybody always wonder, man, what would happen if I went back and did this when I was younger? It's like, bro, you wouldn't be the same person that you are, dog. You don't know where you would be. You might have went back and thinking that you did something correctly in your past and messed around and got killed because you went to a whole nother path that had a whole nother different set of options that were more dangerous and you didn't know just yet. So I always think that's interesting. The anime for sure allows you to be like, dang it, see, he tried his best to change everything, but he still cannot get it right until maybe the very end of the story. But yeah, you brought it up and I was like, man, butterfly effect is always one of those things I've always thought about in life. Like, man, for real, I think if you want to go back and change some stuff, but you like, bro, I wouldn't be who I am today. Like, it's just possible I wouldn't be. So.
It's because people think that one change is going to have one different. And it's like, nah, bro. Just you going outside and doing this, like, okay, well, the neighbor heard that, now he doing this, and that neighbor heard that, now he doing this. The person outside heard it, now he ended up crashing into something because he got distracted. It's like, bro, this one decision you just made just caused this whole domino effect of all these things that happen. And I think one anime that butchers time travel, and I've publicly told people how I feel about this anime. We all love it because of nostalgia, but Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're talking about Dragon Ball Z, ain't you?
Dragon Ball Z.
They really messed up.
They have butchered time travel several times. I think in the Android saga, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
But when you get to Super and the Goku Black arc,
it's bad.
Which made it crazy because the thing is with time travel, we got two dope characters. We got Future Trunks, which I don't care what anybody say, the coolest looking Saiyan of them all. Future Trunks was that dude easily. When he made his debut, people were like, bruh, who is that? He is fitted to a T. And in Super, they gave us Goku Black, which is part of what my name is, my moniker. You got Goku evil as all hell, and you're like, bro, that is a cool character. But the way you got to him through your whole time travel means are horrible, dog. It was just so confusing, dog. It's so confusing. Like, you can't go back in time and pull the Trunks that was back in time and say he does another thing while you still got a version of that Trunks in your timeline. You're like, you're creating like a triple paradox, bro. Like, you're gonna blow up everything. Like, for real. They
and ironically enough, how did that arc end? How did it go? Having to destroy everything.
Having to blow it all up.
Blow everything up. It's like this was a complete and utter shit show.
It was like literally they did that literally just so that there was new characters to bring in. That was the only reason.
They said we wanted to give you a Super Saiyan with pink hair. That's what that whole.
That's all that. Right, and then mind you, Goku Black came in though. His gi was fitted, bro. He came in all black with the gray trim and the red sash. I'm like, hey, he looked nice, but bro, y'all just played us. Like, y'all threw us a character was like, man, we want to sell more toys. Y'all didn't know that the character was going to be dope enough that we actually cared about how the hell you brought this character into the story. But yeah, it was just like, bro, just figure it out, bro. I was like, bro, y'all, Dragon Ball Z did horrific when it came to time travel.
It's bad.
It's bad.
Just think back to the first Android arc. Trunks goes back in time to warn them that the androids are coming. He makes the android stronger, goes back to his present time, then comes back again, I think, trains, then goes back again. At some point in this time, he gets killed by Cell. Now Cell goes back in time. It's just like, bro, what is happening?
Right. That's too many people going back in time, bro. Like, you're not supposed to be dipping. Like, if you have one main character going back in time, I get it. But when you got the villain going back to do some stuff that he shouldn't be even doing, and you had the main character going back 4 or 5 times just to come back like a year later, or it's like, okay, there's some confusion here. Like, it's
just not good. And I remember, wasn't Trunks' hair like purple?
Yeah,
and then like the next time we see him, he time travel, his hair is blue. And I'm like, all right, so is he dyeing his hair, or did you realize, he's Bulma's son, so let's make his hair blue.
Right.
Like, what do you decide? Like, you're not even being consistent with your artwork. Like, how can you decide to fuck with time travel if you're not even being consistent with some of the things that you got in your story? Like, he got on there and was talking about he forgot that he gave Goten and them tails. I forgot that I gave tails. I was like, bro, you got to be consistent with your story. How can you time travel?
Toriyama butchered a bunch of stuff. We know that. He might have created some iconic characters that we all remember, but he butchered a lot when it came to other stuff. So I get that overall.
Did you talk about ReZero?
Damn. Thank you. That's what you call a transition, Steve. Thank you.
My bad.
Another anime I was going to talk about that deals in time travel pretty interesting and probably the most brutal way ever is ReZero. And so I think it's interesting because it's almost like he's like referring to Subaru. Subaru, in a sense, is using time travel to basically go back to redo stuff. And I thought it was interesting that the way that he has to use time travel, because that's his only means of basically fighting back. As we all know, Subaru was just a normal, neat staying at home, and then basically gets isekai, which is a whole other thing. It's an isekai, and he uses time travel. So you're like, damn, y'all throwing everything into this pot, huh? And so he goes and realizes that in order to basically change the outcome of stuff like that, in order to go back in time, he has to die. And Subaru dies in the most gruesome ways in human history. I've never seen some of the shit that he dies by. I mean, beheaded, decapitated. They didn't show it in the anime, but in the manga ReZero, if everybody has seen it, the scene where he deals with the rabbits in the most recent season of season 2, the way the rabbits kill him, they literally climbed into every orifice he has. And I'm just going to leave it at that. The most brutal way you can deal with death. Subaru has been through it. And I thought it was interesting because, again, he's the only one that can do it. Yet, we find out that there are people that understands what he's doing. And that makes it even more crazy. Because when you can find out a character literally knows, like, oh, wait, you know that I'm going back in time somehow? That just mixes everything up. Because then you're like, okay, I don't know what to do at this point. You don't know where the story is going. But I wanted to mention ReZero. Of course, my boy Steve basically allows me to link right onto it, which is perfect. So that's what we call transition. But the last point I want to make on it, and it's actually something that I thought about at the last second, was the end result of time travel. We know of some that are done right, where everything's done correctly, such as Gurren Lagann. But there are some where they end, and you're just like, bro, it still had the worst effect possible. Do you guys have any where the end result of the time travel just didn't work? Everything just ended bad, like bad ending?
The future.
I mean, shit, outside of Dragon Ball Z, shit. I can't even think of any where it was that bad.
Well, Scuba Steve just threw out the one I was going to say, and that's Future Diary. So, have you seen Future Diary, Leek?
Nah.
All right, one day we gonna charm you. We gonna charm you one day to get you into the world of Gasai one day and realize how crazy a pink hair young lady can be. But
bro, she's insane.
That's one crazy character for sure. Go ahead, you can talk about this with Steve because you know how it goes too. So that's on you.
Yes. So basically, like, God retires, like, you know what I'm saying. So he's like,
wait. That's what you lead off the synopsis with.
That's how it starts.
I would not have led off with that. I promise. I would not have led off with God retired.
I'm only allowed to be God for a certain amount of century years. So he got a contract. He decides I'm going to give my power away. Yeah, he decides he's gonna give his power.
Oh my god!
So he holds like a tournament.
This up was hilarious.
Yeah, he holds like a 13-person battle royale tournament.
And he making people fight for it.
Yeah.
It's a crazy show, Leek. I'm telling you, bro. You start watching it, you be like, "Wait, what am I watching?"
The crazy part was that, like, he was like, he pulled everybody up, and it was their silhouette, so nobody can see each other, but you kind of can see their silhouette, so you kind of know what they look like, but you don't know what they look like, type shit. So he's like,
I love this anime, but it is crazy.
It's crazy.
Absolutely insane.
He's like, all right, the game begins. Go find each other in the world. Like, they not in just one city. They in the world.
Wait, so it's a battle royale? They gotta find and kill each other, or
yes, that's exactly what they have to do.
So hold on. So he picked 13 people to fight over his power. He brings them up like, hey, just so you know, these are the silhouettes what everybody look like. All right, that's all the only hint you get. So I'm dropping back on Earth and figure it out.
So he
wait.
He gives them like little diaries. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Explain the diaries.
So with them doing that, they all have the ability to basically, just like he was saying, like they're given diaries, and what's called the diary it's a phone, basically a flip phone. And so if the flip phone or the phone gets destroyed, they die automatically. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. So in order to keep up with this, basically, their abilities allow them to either foresee somebody in the future to know what's going on, or allow them to predict certain things. So certain people use that ability through their phone in order to track people or find how their next movement going to be and stuff like that. So the phones become more intricate overall in it. But everybody remembers Future Diary because of one damn character, and that's Gasai. We find out that at the end of this whole anime, this wasn't the first time that God helped this program. She actually ended up being the final survivor and gaining the power of God. And you know what she decided to do? Because she's so messed up in the head, the one person that she wanted to protect, she decided to reverse time to go back through the same scenario of killing everybody just so she could be with that one boy
for a little bit longer. So basically, she's in the
13th. Dog. So she basically killed everybody, gained the power of God, and was just like, you know what I'm gonna do? The first thing I'm gonna do with my power of God, I'm gonna reverse time so I could do all this shit again to go stay with the boy I love. Absolutely batshit crazy, just absolutely nuts. Like you telling me I didn't gain the powers of the Almighty, and I'm gonna decide to go back through time and do the same shit I just had to do to get the powers?
Yeah. So she gave herself no power, so she had to fight.
Oh no! See,
she had no power.
I'm thinking she still got the God power. She go back.
She gave herself no powers and
she reset in time.
She couldn't just bring him back to life.
She literally said, "Run it back, Turbo."
Yeah,
just reset it all over again.
I feel like this is such an inefficient use of power.
Well, you know what that shows you? That shows you how crazy she was. That's how nuts this woman was, and you're just like, bruh, like. So the one person that we don't want to have these powers gain these powers, and she does the most stupidest thing that you can imagine with these powers. All right, let's do it again. So it was
ran it back, and then when she ran it back, the only reason why she got caught was because she kept the. So when she went back, so she ran it back, but when she ran it back,
Leek's face is everything. Leek is just like, you gotta be kidding me.
So she went back in time. She found herself, and she had to murder her old self so she could play the role. So she could play the role. So she could enter the tournament. So she
swapped places with herself in the past.
Yes.
Now she has all the knowledge of I did this, but I'm still gonna not have my powers and redo it the hard way. That's so stupid.
That's what we said. That's what we said. The worst usage of time travel
had to be this one.
Had to be this one. It was just so bad. I mean, the story was good. It was crazy, and they create a character that's absolutely memorable. Like everybody knows when you find out who is the worst yandere of all time, Gasai is thrown on the screen faster than you could say her name. Like you'll see her image pop up, and you're like, yeah, that bitch is crazy. Yeah, it's just she's flat out crazy. So yeah, the story sounds absolutely crazy, but it creates one of the most crazier characters. And yeah, it was the worst use of time travel we could ever say ever. Like she literally
knowing what you know, you will still enjoy the show. Yeah, like, that shit is good,
actually bro. A really good watch. It's actually a really good watch. Besides all the crazy stuff we explained, it's a really good watch. So
yeah.
Leek's just like, nah, y'all done told me some shit that I might not even want to be part of, but it sounds crazy. So I wanted to pull up I'm sort of done with the time travel. Anybody else want to mention about the time travel? Any other options? All right, I got one more thing I want to pull up before we get to the main part. Till we get to one of our favorite parts of the podcast. But we just talked about the worst usage of time travel. I want to talk about the best usage of slowing down time. And the reason this stuck out to me is because I remember the episodes that this took place. I think it was 110 and 111, if I'm not mistaken. And the moment that I'm bringing up right now, it goes back to Hunter x Hunter. So it does a perfect way of slowing down time. And what I'm talking about is the moment during the Chimera Ant arc, where they're literally waiting until 12 o'clock hits on the clock. They run through the portal, and literally there are simultaneous events happening all within a 15-second window. They literally used 2 episodes to animate basically 15 seconds of what was going on. And I just remember sitting back and being like, this shit is fucking amazing, because it was the perfect usage of slowing down time so that we knew what was going on. Literally all that happened 15 seconds into, well, it was like 12 o'clock and 15 seconds in. Mm-hmm. We literally had a moment where Netero and Killua's grandfather are dropping out of the sky. They're dropping out of the sky on a golden dragon, shooting down thousands of golden arrows. Dragon dive, shooting down thousands of golden arrows, to the point that Pitaru literally has to drop her nin for a second, which throws the entire arc out of crazy because she's not guarding the castle anymore. So it leaves Gong and them a perfect window to sneak into the castle, and allows them, when they're turning the corner to go upstairs to look for Meruem, they see the red guy, and I can't remember his name. I'm sorry.
Monster Yuppie.
Yes, Yuppie. Yeah. They turn a corner, sees him, realizes that he was not part of our calculations, and within seconds of literally coming out of this portal, has to make a life or death decision.
Hey, Tagashi was going crazy when he wrote that.
He was in his bag when he wrote those. And those, they animated within it took 2 episodes to animate literally just them making it past that stage.
And we cannot forget the god tier narration.
Yes.
The narration.
Yes.
You will never get narration that good again. And RIP to the narrator. I forget his name, but he actually passed away. But that was literally god tier narration for that. And if for whatever reason, P2 looked towards the sky.
Yes.
And when she looked up, her animal instincts were screaming that this is like,
this is bad, right? You're listening to this, and mind you, this is all happening within 15 seconds. We're getting literally an hour of content from 15 seconds of an anime. From 15 still seconds, you're just like, bro, like that. I can't remember another anime that gave me a perfect visual of 15 seconds of how everything at that point was happening literally within those seconds. It was absolutely beautiful. I was like, you know what? I was going back, literally watching the episode. Was like, this shit was so gold. Like I've seen it. I know what happens.
Seen it 10 times, and every time you watch this, it's
so fucking good. Like, man, just absolutely incredible usage of slowing down time and just being like, man, that's how if you're gonna slow down time, that's how you want to slow down time to show your story. Because again, that was only 15 seconds. There was so much that happens after that. But everybody remembers how literally you got to see the characters, how they reacted, how everybody's emotions were. Everybody was freaking out. People were freezing up. Then as they're running up the stairs, that's when the dragon dive full effect of the 10 arrows are hitting. You're just like, I cannot believe this is all happening within a 15-second window. So, yeah, man, I remember that. I still remember that scene still to this day. And I was like, bro, if we're talking about time, that's
don't forget slowing down time. Whenever Zeno and Netero came down and they saw the body of the girl Kamugi, and they was just shook. And then you see Crollo telling who does he tell? Does it he told somebody to take after her. I think it was Poof. It might have been Poof. He told her to watch her. And then at that moment, when you see Netero and Zeno, like they weren't ready for this moment of a monster being showed human, and it allowed him to walk right between them.
Yep.
And they didn't even realize what happened. And after that, Zeno was telling Silva, he's like, I had my time compressed. He was like, he didn't even realize like he was able to completely walk between them. They were so like stuck. It literally was like he compressed their time with his presence. They were so shook. It's like those moments when people talk about Hunter x Hunter. This is what we talk about when we say peak fiction.
Peak fiction.
And
peak fiction.
And I argue that shit all the time because for some reason they keep getting matched up and y'all run my phase with Full Metal Alchemist. I don't know how it is, but it always and Full Metal Alchemist is in my top 5.
Right.
But Hunter x Hunter is just on this different level than Full Metal will ever be to me. And like niggas be getting mad, and I'm like, bro, these scenes are so crazy in Hunter x Hunter, bro. Like they're just so crazy that I don't think Full Metal have those. I think
what it is that both shows are goated. Like I don't think nobody would question that both shows aren't goated. But I think what it is when you're choosing the pinnacle. It's like, what do you want? You want your Lambo or you want your Ferrari? Last time I checked, both these cars are ahead of my game, anyways. But I get to choose one or the other. I think it's literally just a preference. And so it's like, one is considered one of the greatest like anime ever. The other one is considered some of the best storytelling and arc setting up ever. So when you're comparing the two, it's like, damn, this is hard to really choose.
They definitely got different things going for them. They have some of the same things. Like I lean way more towards Hunter x Hunter because I think the world building, I think the power system, I think all of that is on its own separate tier. But Full Metal is one of the more complete stories you'll ever see. Like, period. Like, as far as fiction goes, it's a complete story from start to end. Whereas a lot of stories haven't ended, if we're being completely honest. So that works against Hunter x Hunter.
Yes, it does. It does.
But the fact that Hunter, like, if you've seen Hunter x Hunter, it's rare that you find people that have seen Hunter x Hunter, the whole anime, and don't feel like it's one of the best things you ever seen.
Right.
And the anime isn't even a complete story. The manga isn't even complete, and it's still the fact that it's still put in, like, it's currently it's in my top 5 all time manga. Period. And it's like it's still not done. It might not ever be done, and it's still probably never going to leave my top 5. Like that's how well written it is.
For me, it's One Piece and then Hunter x Hunter. And if Hunter x Hunter finished, I don't know.
If Hunter x Hunter finished, all bets is off.
And I love One Piece, but if Hunter x Hunter actually got finished.
It's understandable. Like it is that good that it might be able to topple off something that's literally been running for about 20 years now. It's that good. Like it gives us so many moments of like holy. Like I don't remember watching too many shows where literally my eyes got big and my jaw dropped. But Hunter x Hunter did that a few goddamn times, and I was like,
and it was
this is good.
It wasn't even action. It was just shit. Like I've never been like hype about stuff that like not even action. Nothing is even really happening. But I'm on the edge of my seat about shit. Like when fucking Gon and Killua is staking out the spider troop. And they staking them out, and then like all that pressure, like they like old girl is looking out the corner of her eye and like looking, and they bending the corners trying to make sure that they don't get seen. I was like, bro, why am I so hype for a stakeout? Like, like
not only that,
stakeout.
Like when they when the one hunter gets caught and it's fed to the queen, and you're just like, oh my god! I cannot believe
it was
that.
All dude with the rainbow arrows.
Yes, and you're like,
Pizza woke up and she was like, "Why is there a human alive over there?" And he heard it's like, "Oh shit,
like, this is about to happen, isn't it? Like this is really about to go down." Sometimes just like you said, it doesn't have to be meathead fighting the whole time. A good story can capture anybody if it's good. Like it'll make anybody stop what they're doing. You know, a good anime is when you're on your phone and you're like, ooh, I feel like I just missed something excellent. And you put your phone down and you rewind, and now you're actually intent. You're like, okay, let me watch because I feel like I'm missing something really, really good. Then before you know it, you fucked around and watched 8 episodes. You're like, damn, I'm in it, huh? Like I'm really, really in it. So a good story doesn't always have to have your meathead moments. I've always felt that way personally, because there's some mangakas that tells one hell of a story out there, and I didn't need no action towards it. They just tell a good fucking story that I get intertwined in. So yeah, I agree.
That's the Hunter x Hunter.
Real quick, that your example in Hunter x Hunter reminds me of a show that I believe is heavily Hunter x Hunter inspired, and that's JJK. Do you remember when Toto was trying to block the attack from from what's his name?
Is it Hanami?
Yeah, and then in 0.1 seconds, he had this whole scene in his head of this idol who obviously he's never met her. He had this whole dialogue in his head, like, no, you need to think. What is attack really doing? Like, if you respond this way, like, think back to what Megumi did. Why do you think that happened? He's like, oh, because he used cursed energy. And it's like, all this happened in 0.1 seconds.
0.1 seconds.
And he drops his cursed energy. And the thing is like, what the fuck? Why did he drop it? And it's like, that's a prime example of able to fit an entire scene in like 0.1 seconds.
I think it's one of the more beautiful things when literally you can like, it's like you're going through like an action scene or just an intense moment and everything slows down. It's like time, like you're almost like to the point that the character is slowing down time to process everything. I think those are one of the more cooler moments when you're watching an anime, when a character or a moment slows down, and sometimes you'll get the music that and then everything just slows down. You're just seeing everything in slow motion. You're like, damn, this shit about to get crazy once it's speed back up.
Netero did that in the whole fight against Meruem. The whole entire fight. From doing this 0.001 seconds, he was moving faster than sound. He laughing at Pito before he strikes and sends her flying. All this is happening in fractions of a second.
It's crazy when characters move and they're like bending time. I'm like, dog, that's some otherworldly type powers. Like, it's like, okay, like you're really literally your brain is processing so fast that your whole body can't keep up with it. It's absolutely crazy, which again, that just goes back to the whole theme of of this podcast. Time in anime can be done so well. And also what you get, sometimes you get some of the most beautifully animated scenes when you get slowdowns and you get those speed ups and you're like, man, especially when you see like a character, like I think it was it might have been in Fate Zero, where Saber literally is sitting there charging up, getting ready to use Excalibur, and then all of a sudden everything slows and she shoots off like a freaking like lightning bolt, and you're like, dog, time slowed down for like a split second before she did her attack, and she just shoots off, and you're like, that is some crazy shit. But it's some of the most well animated like moments you'll see, and you're just like, damn, that looks beautiful. So. Yeah, man, for real, dog. It gets like that for real. But honestly, I got my points off. If you want to get any more like anime moments off that you just think of just when it comes to time, go for it. I've gotten all mine off, but I'm just talking about them is like, man, just seeing that being shown in anime, how time can affect like literally even the slightest of movements for a character is crazy. So. Man, I got another one. Wait, I got one more. I thought about it. I was like, wait, there was one moment, and of course I'm bringing back up Fairy Tail because Fairy Tail had a lot of moments that dealt with time. They literally have like 6 episodes where literally it was going downhill. Like literally they were fighting all the dragons, and we knew that, okay, even the dragon slayers were having problems trying to defeat these dragons because dragons are just like the almighty being of Fairy Tail. It's just hard to be a goddamn dragon. It gets to the point where literally the entire cast of Fairy Tail is being overwhelmed, and certain main characters end up getting killed, such as Gray, other characters, and it just looks bad for the team. Ultir goes back and uses her abilities and literally sacrifices her abilities in time to go back to literally rewind time with her magic. And she did all this, sacrificed herself, her body, and accelerated her body to like the age of like when she's like 17 years old. She does all that to get literally 1 minute of time back. And you're just like, wait, everybody just died. You literally were only to rewind 1 minute of time. And it was the craziest play because you're like, what is 1 minute going to do? Everybody died in some way. But literally everybody within that 1 minute of going back had a deja vu moment and was just like, if I do this, I might die. Maybe I should come back. And it was the craziest play of somebody reversing time. And when we were talking about lengths of time for time travel and reversing time, 1 minute don't seem like shit. But in this case, 1 minute literally saved the entire crew of Fairy Tail. So again, man, time travel and time rewind, and it can be done so well. When it's done in fiction correctly, it's beautiful, man, for real.
I'll say one thing about time that was done correctly in an opening, in an anime opening, is JoJo's Part 3. I don't know if you guys seen it or whatever. In JoJo's Part 3, they literally revealed Dio's stand in the opening, but you don't know it until you actually find out his stand. As they do the opening, and then Dio does a face-off with Jotaro, and he stops for a second. Everything stops for a second. Dio walks around Jotaro, and then everything goes back to normal. Dio's power and his stand power actually was freezing time, but you don't know that.
No.
Yeah, you don't know that until like episode 20.
Right.
Every opening you've watched Dio use his ability every single episode.
I never even thought about that.
I thought that was so dope to me, just the way that they did that shit, because it was like they unraveled this whole story and everything in the opening.
Right.
But
You knew it was going to happen, but you didn't know it was going to happen.
Yeah, you just never peeped it until they revealed, okay, his ability is to stop time. And I thought that shit was dope as fuck the way they did that shit. So that's the one that I touched on.
Okay. Got any more leak for yourself?
Not instances of time. There's several instances of people with time manipulation powers, though. Like Julius Novo Chrono.
I do use one.
Bleach, the Espada Baragon. He uses time, but it's in the sense of like having stuff decay. Going inside the Tsukuyomi, where he controls space, time, and matter, and everything inside the Tsukuyomi. Or you got stuff like, spoilers, Prison Realm and JJK, where time doesn't move, where you're trapped in something and you're actually outside of time, where time doesn't even affect you anymore. So it's stuff like that, where just sometimes you use time powers, but it's not to the point to where you're completely invincible, if that makes sense. Like there's ways around it. Like in the case of Julie, it's like he was fighting against somebody who's using light. Light is just as fast as time.
Right.
And Baragon, and Baragon and Bleach, like you can't defend yourself against your own power. You had your own special thing that there has to be a way that you're avoiding decaying yourself. And it's like things like that, where we have something where you would think that time is unbeatable. Right. And then you have the instances where artists were able to write ways around that. And I think those are really good, because it's really hard, in my opinion, to do time well, especially time.
Agreed.
It's really, really easy to mess it up.
I agree. No. You said it right. So
we're definitely gonna have to talk about that offline. Because I have some stuff I want to ask you then. But, yeah.